The scorching Afghan sun beat down on Lieutenant Grace Harper as she checked her medical kit for the third time. 6 months into her deployment with SEAL Team 7, the combat medic had earned grudging respect from the hardened operators around her. Commander Marcus Wright, a battle-tested veteran whose reputation rivaled that of Marcus Luttrell himself, gave her a curt nod as their helicopter approached the landing zone. "Remember, Doc," Wright said, using her team nickname, "stick to the middle of our formation. Your job is to keep us breathing." Harper nodded, suppressing the urge to remind him of her other qualifications. Quick pause. Comment where you're watching from. And if you love these stories, hit subscribe now. The next one will blow your mind, and it's even crazier. The mission was straightforward on paper. Infiltrate a remote valley in Kandahar province, extract a high-value intelligence package from a local informant, and exfiltrate before enemy forces could respond. Intelligence suggested minimal resistance, but Harper had learned that minimal in SEAL terminology still meant dangerous by any civilian standard. As the helicopter departed, leaving them in eerie silence, Harper recalled her journey to this moment. Despite graduating top of her class in marksmanship during officer training, she had been steered toward medical roles. Her father, a decorated Marine sniper, had taught her to shoot before she could drive. Those skills remained her secret weapon, one the military bureaucracy had effectively shelved. The team moved swiftly through rocky terrain, maintaining communication through hand signals. Chief Petty Officer Jackson, their designated marksman, took point with his SR-25 semi-automatic sniper rifle. Harper watched his movements, recognizing the disciplined positioning her father had drilled into her for years. 2 hours into their patrol, they reached the rendezvous point, a cluster of abandoned buildings nestled against a steep cliff face. The informant was nowhere to be seen. "I don't like this," muttered Petty Officer Rodriguez, scanning the ridgelines above them. "Too quiet." Commander Wright signaled for defensive positions just as the first shots rang out. The crack of AK-47 fire echoed through the valley as insurgents appeared on 3 sides, raining bullets down from elevated positions. "Ambush! Get down!" Wright shouted, returning fire as the team scrambled for cover. Harper pressed herself against a crumbling stone wall, counting team members as they found protection. The sharp ping of bullets striking nearby made her flinch. Then came the call she dreaded. "Man down! Commander's hit!" Harper rushed to Wright's position, finding him conscious but bleeding heavily from a shoulder wound that had missed his plate. Carrier. Working methodically despite the chaos, she applied a pressure dressing and administered morphine. "Comms are down," Jackson reported, sliding in beside them. "No radio, no satellite. We're on our own." Wright grimaced through the pain. "How many tangos are we looking at?" "At least 20, maybe more incoming," Jackson replied. "They've got us pinned from the high ground." Harper finished stabilizing Wright as another barrage of gunfire erupted. A pained cry came from their left flank, where Rodriguez and Jackson had been returning fire. Harper turned to see Jackson clutching his throat, blood seeping between his fingers as Rodriguez dragged him to cover. Despite Harper's best efforts, Jackson was gone within minutes, his SR-25 lying beside him. Rodriguez looked to Wright, desperation in his eyes. "Sir, we're outgunned and surrounded. Baker and Wilkins are running low on ammo." Harper looked at the fallen sniper rifle, then back to Wright's pale face. A decision crystallized in her mind. "Sir," she said firmly, "I can provide covering fire." Wright's eyebrows furrowed. "Doc, we need you here for medical." "I qualified expert marksman, sir. Trained with Chris Kyle before he separated from service." She held his gaze. "Let me take the high position. I can disrupt their command structure long enough for extraction." Wright studied her for a long moment before nodding. "Do it." Harper grabbed Jackson's rifle, checking the magazine and scope. The weight felt familiar in her hands, like returning to an old friend. With Rodriguez providing covering fire, she scrambled up a partially collapsed stairwell to the second floor of an adjacent building, finding a narrow window with clear sight lines to the enemy positions. Taking a deep breath, Harper settled into the shooter's mindset her father had taught her. Time seemed to slow as she identified the enemy fighters directing the assault. Through the scope, she could see a man with a radio gesturing to others, the coordinator of the ambush. Exhale. Halfway. Squeeze. Don't pull. The rifle bucked against her shoulder as she took her first shot. The coordinator dropped. Before the others could identify her position, she had already shifted aim and eliminated a second fighter manning a machine gun. One by one, Harper methodically disrupted the enemy force. Her fourth target was attempting to flank Rodriguez's position. Her fifth was setting up what appeared to be an RPG. With each precise shot, the enemy fire became more disorganized and scattered. Below, Wright had managed to reach their emergency beacon, which could still transmit their GPS coordinates even without voice communication capability. If headquarters was monitoring, help would be coming, if they could hold out long enough. For 43 minutes, Harper maintained her position, taking shots only when certain, conserving ammunition. The enemy forces, having lost their leadership, and facing unexpected precision fire, began to pull back to reassess. The distinctive thump of helicopter rotors echoed through the valley just as Harper fired her last round. A quick reaction force led by Lieutenant Michael Murphy's team had responded to their emergency beacon. As suppressing fire from the helicopters drove back the remaining insurgents, Harper returned to the wounded, helping them prepare for evacuation. Wright, despite his injury, gripped her arm as she checked his dressing. "Harper," he said, his voice hoarse, "I've never seen shooting like that outside of our dedicated snipers." She offered a tired smile. "My father always said I was a better shot than him. The Corps just never gave me the chance to prove it." Within minutes, they were being loaded onto the extraction helicopters. As they lifted off, Harper watched the battle scene recede below them. What would have been a devastating loss had turned into a survival story. All because she had finally been allowed to use the skills she had carried silently for years. Back at base, word of Harper's actions spread quickly through the SEAL community. The medic who became a sniper in their moment of greatest need became something of a legend. Commander Wright, recovering in the medical facility, made a formal recommendation for her to receive advanced sniper training. "Next time," he told her, with newfound respect, "you won't be just our medic. You'll be our guardian angel on the high ground." Lieutenant Grace Harper simply nodded, knowing that finally her full range of skills would be recognized. She was a healer and a warrior, and after today, no one would forget it. The pre-dawn air cut cold across Captain Sarah Jameson's face as she double-checked her medical supplies. 4 years as a combat medic with Special Operations Forces had taught her to be methodical. Lives depended on it. As the helicopter thundered toward their insertion point near the Syrian border, she caught Commander William Richards studying her with his characteristic intensity. "You good, Doc?" he asked, using her team call sign. Sarah nodded, her mind momentarily drifting to the biathlon. Medals packed away in her parents' home in Montana. Few on the team knew about her Olympic past, fewer still about her classified training with Naval Special Warfare Development Group. That was intentional. After losing her brother Alex in Fallujah 3 years earlier, bleeding out despite a medic's best efforts, Sarah had dedicated herself to saving lives, not taking them. Commander Richards, whose reputation rivaled the legendary William McRaven, had handpicked her for this mission specifically for her medical expertise. SEAL Team 6 was tracking intelligence on a weapons cache that could change the regional power dynamics if left unchecked. The mission was classified at the highest levels, with minimal support available if things went sideways. 10 minutes, called the pilot, as the helicopter maintained its low-profile approach. Sarah felt the familiar weight of her sidearm against her thigh, a standard M9 Beretta. What her teammates didn't know was how many hours she'd spent qualifying with every weapon system in the Navy's arsenal after her regular shifts ended. It was her private ritual, a way to honor Alex and ensure she'd never be helpless in combat. The team inserted silently, moving through rocky terrain in perfect formation. Master Chief Peterson, their designated sniper, swept the ridge lines with practiced precision through his rifle scope. Sarah monitored the team's physical condition, noticing Lieutenant Carter's slightly labored breathing, likely the beginnings of a respiratory infection she'd need to address upon return to base. 3 hours into their mission, they found not just the expected weapons cache, but something far more substantial, an underground bunker housing enough explosives and advanced weaponry to supply a small army. Richards immediately ordered documentation while the team prepared charges to destroy the facility. "Command needs to see this," Richards muttered as he photographed crates of Russian-made surface-to-air missiles. "This isn't just smuggling anymore." Sarah felt it before she heard it, the subtle shift in air pressure that preceded trouble. "Movement. Northeast Ridge," she whispered into her comm, just as the first bullets kicked up dust at their feet. "Contact! Multiple hostiles!" shouted Petty Officer Wilson as the team scrambled for cover. The ambush had been meticulously planned. Enemy fighters had positioned themselves on 3 sides, using the terrain to funnel the SEAL team into a kill zone. Within seconds, the radio operator reported their communications were being jammed. No backup, no air support. Master Chief Peterson established a sniper position behind a rock outcropping, his rifle barking methodically as he attempted to suppress the enemy fire. Sarah dragged Lieutenant Carter behind an abandoned vehicle after a round grazed his thigh. As she applied a pressure dressing, a tremendous explosion rocked the compound. "RPG!" someone shouted as debris rained down around them. When the dust cleared, Sarah saw Peterson's body lying motionless beside his rifle, half his position obliterated by the direct hit. Richards appeared at her side, blood streaming from a cut above. His eye. "How many wounded?" he demanded. "Carter's stable. Davis has shrapnel wounds but can still fight." "Peterson's gone," she reported, her medical training keeping her voice steady despite the chaos. Richards grimaced. "They're closing in from all sides. Without Peterson's covering fire, we won't last until extraction." Sarah made a decision that would change everything. "Sir, I need to tell you something," she said, meeting his gaze. "Before I was a medic, I trained with Richard Marcinko's group as a marksman." Richard stared at her in disbelief. "Marcinko? Demo Dick himself?" "Yes. Sir, Olympic biathlon before that. I can operate Peterson's rifle." For 3 heartbeats, Richard said nothing as bullets pinged off the metal around them. Then he nodded once. "Do it. We'll create a diversion." Sarah crawled to Peterson's position, offering a silent apology as she carefully moved his body to retrieve his MK-13 sniper rifle. The weight felt familiar in her hands despite the different configuration from her competition days. She checked the magazine, 7 rounds remaining, plus 1 in the chamber. Each would need to count. While the team coordinated a series of flashbangs and suppressing fire to draw attention, Sarah slipped away toward an abandoned church that dominated the eastern edge of the village. Years of biathlon training made the ascent to the bell tower almost effortless, despite her gear. Setting up quickly, she nestled the rifle against her shoulder and controlled her breathing, just as Marcinko had taught her years ago. Through the scope, she identified the enemy's pattern. 3 men with radio equipment were coordinating the assault from behind a low stone wall. Their first fighter carried what appeared to be a second RPG. She would start there. Inhale. Pause. Gentle squeeze. The up-bow. Rifle bucked against her shoulder as the fighter crumpled. Before the others could react, she had already chambered another round and eliminated one of the radio operators. Her third shot disabled a heavy machine gun position that had pinned down half the team. Below, she could see Richards recognizing the opportunity. He directed the team to begin moving toward their secondary extraction point while Sarah continued methodically eliminating key threats. Each shot was followed by a precisely timed repositioning within the tower to prevent enemy fighters from triangulating her location. With her sixth shot, Sarah eliminated a sniper who had been targeting Richards. Her seventh took out the final radio operator, effectively cutting off the enemy's coordination. For her final round, she waited patiently until the apparent leader emerged from cover, then sent him crashing to the ground with a shot that echoed across the valley. With her ammunition expended, Sarah abandoned the rifle and drew her sidearm, beginning her descent. The enemy forces had fallen into disarray without leadership, allowing the SEAL team to gain ground toward extraction. As she reached the ground floor, an explosion rocked the church. Part of the ceiling collapsed, trapping her leg beneath rubble. Sarah fought through the pain, freeing herself just as Lieutenant Carter appeared in the doorway. "Doc! Commander sent me back for you. Helo's inbound." Together they limped toward the extraction point as the distinctive thump of helicopter rotors grew louder. The remaining team members provided covering fire as Sarah and Carter made the final dash across open ground. Bullets kicked up dirt at their heels as they lunged into the helicopter's open door, Richards pulling them aboard as the aircraft immediately gained altitude. 8 confirmed eliminations with 8 rounds, Richards said over the roar of the engines. "Marcinko taught you well." Sarah didn't respond, already focused on treating the team's injuries as they flew to safety. It wasn't until weeks later, standing before the Admiral as he presented her with the Navy Cross, that Sarah finally allowed herself to process what had happened. "Captain Jameson's unprecedented actions saved her entire team," the citation read. Demonstrating exceptional valor, she utilized her unique skill set to overcome overwhelming enemy forces when conventional support was unavailable. As applause filled the ceremony hall, Sarah thought of her brother. For years, she had carried the weight of not being able to save him. Now she understood that sometimes saving lives meant being willing to use every skill at your disposal, even the ones you tried to leave behind. Commander Richards approached after the ceremony, offering a rare smile. "The team has a new position opening up, Sniper Medic. Never existed before, but apparently headquarters thinks it's a good idea now." Sarah returned his smile. "I think I know someone who might be qualified, sir." For the first time since losing, her brother, Captain Sarah Jameson, felt like she had found her true purpose, not just as a healer, but as a guardian for those who needed her most.